Pretty proud of the young men and women in this area. Now let's begin with the 1995-96 Komo Male Prep Athletes of the Month.
My first trip of the year was south to Tacoma's Lakes High School and its record-setting quarterback, Drew Miller. Simply put, this junior had one of the greatest seasons in Washington football history. He set 6 new state records. Most completed passes in a season, 230. Most passing yards in a season, over 3,300. Most touchdown passes in a season, 41. He passed for over 300 yards every game, and twice was over 400 yards. His 374 passing yards per game average was also a national record. When the season was over, Miller had set 21 league and school passing marks. Named the state's Player of the Year by several publications, he was also an all-league pick in baseball. He excels in the classroom as well, with a 3.85 GPA and a member of the National Honor Society. In October, I traveled south to Adna, a small town with a big-time performer in Mike Brown. Statistically speaking, Brown became the greatest high school running back in state history this year. He completed a brilliant 4-year career with 6,038 yards and 84 touchdowns, shattering the former mark set nearly 10 years ago. The district sprint champion, Brown had numerous schools contact him about playing football, but he's going somewhere that doesn't even offer athletic scholarships. A 3.98 student, Brown was accepted by Harvard University. And oh yes, he'll play football as well as get an Ivy League education. In November, I went to O'Day High School to honor the accomplishments of Devon Johnson. Johnson was a key member of the Irish football team, which completed its second straight undefeated season. A starter on both offense and defense, he showed he's a big-time performer in the state championship game with a 77-yard touchdown reception. During the season, Johnson averaged over 26 yards every time he touched the football. A National Honor Society member, he's accepted a scholarship to play football next year with Jim Lambright and the Washington Huskies. It was north to Everett in December to present our award to their outstanding wrestler, Otto Olson. As a freshman, Olson finished third in the state wrestling tournament. That was the only year he didn't win. He went undefeated in this his senior season, capturing the 168-pound state title. Olson took second in the high school national meet held in Pittsburgh and later reversed that decision to earn first-team All-American honors. A student body officer who also owns his own mobile disc jockey business, Olson will wrestle for the University of Michigan in the fall. In January, I visited Decatur High School in Federal Way to honor basketball standout Quincy Wilder. It didn't matter who you asked to name the best basketball player in the state this year, you always heard 2 words, Quincy Wilder. This 6'2" guard was nearly unstoppable, averaging 29 points per game and leading the Gators to a surprising second-place finish in the state tournament. The unanimous pick as State Player of the Year, Wilder will attend the University of Washington next year. In February, I made my first visit to Gig Harbor High School to recognize the accomplishments of swimmer Paul Foertsch. The 6'7" senior is what you'd call a late bloomer in the sport of swimming, and he was in full bloom at the state AA meet, finishing second in the 100 free while winning the 50 free. The victory was especially meaningful for Foertsch. A year ago, his father Rick suffered a fatal heart attack. Then in November, his mother Sally succumbed to Lou Gehrig's disease. Able to maintain his solid standing in school, Foertsch was awarded a swimming scholarship at the University of Washington. In March, I visited Redmon High School and its multi-talented standout, Brian Falkenborg. In basketball, Falkenborg was named the Player of the Year in the Rugged Kinko League, averaging 17 points a game and leading Redmon to a 4th-place finish in the state tournament. But basketball is only his second-best sport. Falkenborg is even better with a baseball in his hands. This lanky 6'6" right-hander is one of the major league prospects in the state. A 3.4 student, his next decision will be whether to accept the baseball scholarship to perennial power Oklahoma State or sign a professional baseball contract. Next, it was up to Lynnwood to honor football and track standout Ben Lindsey for the second year in a row. At 6'6", 265 pounds, Lindsey was not only one of the biggest, but one of the best football players around. An all-state lineman on both offense and defense, he also earned some All-American mention. But football isn't where Lindsey's future lies. That's because he has his sights set on making the U.S. Olympic team as a discus thrower. He shattered the all-time state mark with a throw of over 202 feet, second best in the nation. This weekend, he's trying to qualify for the World Junior Championships, which take place in Australia. Lindsey won both the discus and the shot put at the state track meet, giving him 5 state titles in his career. He's also a giant in the classroom with a 4.0 grade point average his senior year. A member of the National Honor Society, Lindsey spends his spare time working with younger kids in drug issues. Next year, he'll attend the University of Washington, but won't play football for the Huskies. Instead, concentrate completely on the shot put and discus. Our May Prep Athlete of the Month was another record-setting track standout, Interlake's Erik German. German literally vaulted his way into the spotlight this year, setting a new record and winning the pole vault at the state track meet. This vault of 16 feet is one of the 5 best marks in the entire nation this year. With a personal best of 16.6, German ranks as the 3rd best vaulter in Washington State history. He's accepted a scholarship to compete next year at the University of Tennessee.
See what I mean? Pretty solid group, huh? And I'll bet we'll continue hearing from several of these for years to come. After all, look at what some of our past male winners have accomplished.
I had an idea that lawyer Milloy was going to be special when I first visited him at Lincoln High School in September 1991. At that time, he was a dominating offensive player, one of the top running backs around. He went on to excel as a defensive back at the University of Washington, and just this week became our first prep athlete to enter the NFL, signing a 4-year contract with the New England Patriots. And our first NBA performer, Federal Way's Donny Marshal, a 1990 Prep Athlete of the Month. At that time, Marshal was trying to decide between a career in soccer or basketball. He opted for basketball, playing at the University of Connecticut, and then was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. A month before we honored Marshal, I presented our award to Newport's Mark Pope, and what a career he had. After 2 years at Washington, he transferred to Kentucky and was a captain of this year's NCAA championship team. Just last month, the Wildcats went to the White House, where Pope became the first Komo Prep Athlete of the Month to ever be congratulated by the President of the United States.
When we come back, you'll meet our 9 female Prep Athletes of the Month.
The Komo TV Prep Athlete of the Year special is brought to you by your Northwest Chrysler Plymouth dealers.
Years I've been presenting these awards, I've been all over the western half of the state. But I don't remember a year where I covered as much ground as I did this year for our female winners. I traveled as far north as the Canadian border and as far east as Leavenworth. But the miles were well worth it, as I'm sure you'll agree, as you meet our 9 female Komo Prep Athletes of the Month.
We began the year in Tacoma, honoring Bellermine Prep's outstanding soccer star, Katey Ward. To find Katey Ward on the field, look for the ball, because she always seems to be around it. With 15 goals and a team-high 22 assists, Ward was named her team's most valuable player, leading the Lions to a second-place finish in the state tournament. A first-team All-State selection as a midfielder, Ward carries a 3.58 grade point average and will attend the University of Washington on a soccer scholarship next year. In October, I went to South Seattle's Highline High School to present our award to swimmer Casey Murphy. For the past 3 years, Murphy has dominated the state AA meet, winning the 200 and 500-yard freestyle races each year. She has the state AA record in both events, with her winning times earning All-American consideration. A 3.7 student, Murphy will continue her swimming next season at Arizona State University. For the second year in a row, I visited Mercer Island High School to present our monthly award to Jennifer Strasburger. Strasburger wrapped up a brilliant career at the state meet, winning the 100 freestyle for the second straight year, the 200 free for the third straight year. Her winning time in the 200 was the second best in Washington State history, earning her All-American honors and a spot in this weekend's National High School Championships in Florida. In addition, Strasburger anchored 2 winning relay teams as Mercer Island won the team championship. Equally impressive, she led the Mercer Island swim team to its 3rd straight academic award. A 3.87 student and student body vice president, she'll continue her swimming and studying next year at the University of North Carolina. In December, I made my first visit to Snohomish High School to honor the many talents of Melina Flores. One of the top soccer players in the state, Flores was an all-state selection at forward and her area player of the year. But her first love is basketball. As one coach says, she's great, but her best attribute is that she makes everyone else on the court better too. She averages 13 points, 5 assists, and 5 steals a game. But her best average is this, a perfect 4.0 grade point average. She'll carry her academic and athletic talents to Stanford next year, accepting a basketball scholarship with the perennial national power. I started the new year at a relatively new school, Redmon's Eastlake High School, honoring Kim Sorensen. Only a junior, Sorensen led the rugged Kinko in scoring for the second straight year, averaging 19 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. She earned second-team All-State honors as Eastlake wound up 5th in the state tournament. A member of her school's tennis team, a member of the National Honor Society, and a 3.97 student, Sorensen hopes to play Division I basketball after her senior season at Eastlake. In February, I traveled north to Bellingham to recognize the top gymnast in the state, Sehome's Stephanie Thompson. Without a doubt, this was one of the greatest receptions I've ever had. A ride on a fire truck and a parade downtown. But the real excitement came earlier in the month at the Komo Dome, where Thompson dominated the state gymnastics meet. She was the only athlete to win 2 individual titles, capturing the vault and the uneven bars. She also captured the individual all-around title, leading the Mariners to the team championship. And next year, she'll continue her education and her gymnastics at Seattle Pacific University. It was back to Tacoma in March, this time to Foss High School, and basketball star Tatum Brown. It was an outstanding season for this 6'4" senior, averaging 20 points, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks per game. She was the Narrows League MVP, first-team All-State, and named the Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Washington. A member of the Falcons' volleyball and track teams, Brown has a 3.2 grade point average and will play in the tough Pac-10 next season, accepting a basketball scholarship from the University of Arizona. It was a long trip in April to Leavenworth, but well worthwhile, presenting our monthly award to Cascade's multi-talented Megan Franza. What's her best sport? Whichever one she's involved with at the time. In the winter, it's basketball, where Franza led her team to a second-place finish in the Class A tournament. She earned tournament MVP honors, was named the state's Class A Player of the Year. In the spring, she does it all for her track team, and I mean she does it all. In the state meet, Franza won the high jump. She also won the long jump. She won the 100 hurdles. She won the 300 hurdles. And last weekend, she won the state heptathlon title for the 3rd straight year. Only a junior, Franza has already been contacted by over 100 major colleges and universities who are not only interested in her athletic stats, but her academic stats, which show a perfect 4.0 grade point average. We concluded the year at Snohomish High School, and the May Prep Athlete of the Month, Peggy Wu. The past 2 years, Wu came up just short in her bid for a state crown, finishing 2nd each year. This time around, nothing was going to stop her. She breezed through the state competition without losing a single set, capturing the AAA singles title. For her high school career, she was a spectacular 95-6. A 4.0 student, National Honor Society secretary, and an avid volunteer with the Red Cross, Wu will attend the University of Washington in the fall.
Quite a group. And like the male winners, you're going to be hearing from several of these young ladies for years to come. Once again, a quick look at some of our past winners who prove that bigger and better things do lie ahead.
In the very first year of our program, I visited Cleveland High School to honor Cheryl Taplin. The state's fastest sprinter then, she hasn't slowed down at all. Following a brilliant career at LSU, Taplin is a member of the U.S. Sprint Relay team, hoping to earn a spot in the Olympics. Another standout in track was Renton's Aretha Hill, our May 1994 winner. Now a sophomore at the University of Washington, she won the Pac-10 discus this year and wound up third in the NCAA tournament. And there were not one, but two former prep athletes in this year's Women's Final Four basketball tournament, both playing for Stanford. Naomi Muitawa-Pele, a 1993 selection from Chief Sealth, and Kate Starbird, who is a prep athlete winner as a sophomore and a senior at Tacoma's Lakes High School. Starbird will be a leading contender for National Player of the Year next season.
You've now met the 18 monthly winners. Have you picked out a favorite male and female? When we come back, I'll name the 1995-96 Komo Prep Athletes of the Year. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Before we name this year's Prep Athletes of the Year, you may wonder what happened to last year's winners. Well, as we expected, they've done very well indeed.
Last year's male prep athlete of the year was Puyallup's Brock Heward. One of the top recruited quarterbacks in the country, Heward will be competing for the starting quarterback position as a redshirt freshman at the University of Washington this fall. Our female prep athlete of the year the past 2 years was River Ridge standout LaShonda Christopher. She had a sensational freshman year at the University of North Carolina, winning ACC titles in both the long jump and the triple jump.
Now time to announce this year's winners. This week, I paid surprise visits to two schools. First, to present our Female Prep Athlete of the Year award. So we at KOMO Television are really pleased to visit Cascade High School of Leavenworth again, but this time to present our Prep Athlete of the Year award to your great track star, Megan Franza. Megan.
I'd like to thank everyone for their support. None of this would be possible, and my great teammates that have been with me through all my sports and all the years, and just thanks.
So what's next for this multi-talented young lady?
Well, I'd like to, our basketball team, there's one thing we didn't do. We didn't win state. So I think we had a really good chance this year, and I know it'll be tougher for us next year, but we all know what it's like to be there in that championship game. We know what we've got to do to get there, and I think that if we could pull it out, to get back to state would be definitely one of my biggest goals, and I know that if we got there, we'd play well, we could do well, but I want to win 4 events again. I have that goal definitely.
Academically, you've done very well here. I mean, how do you mix all this together, the 4 points and all the championships and everything else?
I'm not great at studying or anything like that. I work pretty hard at it because I'm real goal-driven, real determined, and I always thought when I was little, I knew that grades were were going to be a big part, and my goal has always been to play basketball at a Division I school, and I knew that the better grades I got, the better chance I'd have. So I just made a goal for myself to be academically, to be up there, so I could just make a choice instead of having to work real hard for just to get in or something. And that's probably why I've done that. It's just because I set such high goals for myself. You know, I don't feel right if I don't get my homework turned in. You know, it just doesn't feel right. So I do work. Sometimes I pull all-nighters and I procrastinate all day, watch TV, but I always end up getting it done.
And now our Male Prep Athlete of the Year for 1995-96.
So we at KOMO Television are extremely pleased to be able to visit Lynnwood High School today to present our Prep Athlete of the Year award. Hey, to your great track star, Ben Lindsey. Ben?
Last year I went to a banquet with all the prep athletes of the month, and Brock Heward, quarterback from Puyallup High School, won it, and I saw that and I realized that was something that was really special and just a great honor bestowed upon that gentleman, and I'm so pleased I won this. I really kind of don't know what to say. It's almost like a dream come true in essence.
Afterwards, I had a chance to talk with Ben and ask him why he was pursuing track rather than football.
The competition within yourself and with other people, just kind of the camaraderie with all the other athletes, being out in the sun and throwing, and kind of there's always something going on in track meets, you know, somebody pole vaulting over here or sprinting over there, and it's just a great atmosphere.
Yeah, now, what are your goals? Well, what do you want to do? You sit around here and say, you know, what's a Ben Lindsey at this time in his life want to do?
Right now I want to graduate from University of Washington with a degree. Not sure in what yet. Still figuring that out. Like to qualify for the World Championships as soon as possible. Go to the Olympics, and I guess basically just be the best thrower in the history of the world is my goal right now.
It must be fun to sit back and think about, gee, all of these little things you've been able to accomplish, all the things you've been able to do while in high school. You know, have you accomplished, you know, I mean, can you kind of sit back and say, hey, gee, this has been a wild experience for me?
I can for a little bit, but if I sit back too long, then I'll miss the train that takes me to the next opportunity. So, yeah, I don't reflect too much on what I've done. I just look ahead and what I can do.
Congratulations to both Megan and Ben, two outstanding athletes, two outstanding students, two outstanding individuals. And I'll return with final comments in just a moment. I hope you enjoyed the Prep Athlete of the Year special. This is an extremely enjoyable project to be associated with every year. I feel this is the best group ever, and every year they just seem to get better and better. Until next year, I'm Bruce King. Thanks for watching.